Hi guys! Today we're going to solve a Leetcode problem in Swift. Leetcode is a popular online platform for practicing coding problems and algorithm challenges. Although it's not specific to iOS development, it can be a useful tool to improve your problem-solving skills. And these problems are designed to test core programming concepts and algorithms, which are really important foundational skills for iOS development. If you're planning to interview for a large tech firm, you're most likely going to get a coding test, which looks very similar to this, and you'll be expected to solve these in less than 20 minutes. So the only way to pass this is to practice. I've been programming for about 12 years now, and yet sometimes I do fail to complete a task within the time frame. And that's because in our regular day-to-day programming, we don't come across such complex problems. However, you should still know how to solve them. So I'm going to solve the happy number problem today and explain it step by step. You can solve this problem in a number of ways. Obviously, my solution is not the only solution out there, but it will give you an idea on how to go about finding a solution. So let's get started. The difficulty of this problem is easy. Let's see what the problem is. Write an algorithm to determine if a number n is happy. A happy number is a number defined by the following process. Starting with any positive integer, replace the number by the sum of the squares of its digits. Repeat the process until the number equals 1, where it will stay, or it loops endlessly in a cycle, which does not include 1. Those numbers for which this process ends in 1 are happy. Return true if n is a happy number and false if not. Right, so we have an example here as well. In this example, the input is number 19. And in the explanation, you can see that 19 was split into 1 and 9, and 1 square plus 9 square equals to 82. Then 8 square plus 2 square is 68, 6 square plus 8 square is 100, and 1 square plus 0 square plus 0 square is 1. Therefore, it's a happy number and the output is true. And in the second example, the input is number 2. And I imagine this would result in an endless loop, which means that it would never ever resolve to 1. So the output is false. So in order to solve this problem, the first thing that comes to my mind is that how do I split this number into digits? We don't have any default method on integers to split it into digits, so we need to come up with one. I'm going to convert this number into string, and then I will iterate over all of the characters and then convert them into integer and form an array of integers. So let's do that. Right, so let's create a constant called digits. In order to convert this number into string, we'll just have string, open bracket n. And in order to iterate through all of the characters, we can just do a map. I'm going to use compact map here to avoid checking for nil. Inside this block, we are going to convert the character back into an integer. Int $0. Right, so this $0 would hold the character. In order to convert the character into integer, we have to convert the character into string first. So I'll add the string here. And now to find out the sum of squares of all of these digits, we can use this really useful function called reduce. So if you're not familiar with reduce, I'll explain. Reduce is a higher order function in Swift that is used to combine all of the elements of the sequence, such as an array, into a single value. The reduce function takes two parameters. Firstly, an initial value for the result, often called the accumulator, which is this value over here, 0. And then the second thing is a closure that specifies how to combine each element of the sequence with the current result. So over here in $0, we've got the accumulator, and in the $1 is our current value. So it would repeat for all of these values, and in the end, we'll be left with the sum of all of these squares. Right, so now that we have the square sum, we just need to check if it's 1, and then we return true. Otherwise, we need to do this whole thing again for this sum that we calculated. So it looks like we'll need to repeat these two lines of code again and again. I would prefer to put that in a different function. So let's create a function here. Let's call it get sum of digits and take n as an integer. I'm just going to copy and paste these two lines and just return this square sum. So now what we need to think about is, we know when to return true, but when do we return false? Obviously, this can go on forever and ever. If the value is never 1, we are stuck in an endless loop, but we need to get out of it somehow. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep track of all of the sums that we end up with, so that if a sum is being repeated, we know for sure that we've done this before and it never evaluated to 1. So we can just stop at that point. So let's create a variable called previous numbers, and it will be an array of integers starting with an empty array. And then I will create a while loop. In fact, actually, I'm going to convert this into a set just because it's much easier to check if it contains a value, if it's a set rather than an array. While previous numbers does not contain square sum, let's create a variable for square sum, which will be initially equal to this number n. I think I should name this something better. Let's call it number instead. So now we need to use this number and check if this number has already been used before. If it has, then we'll stop there. If it hasn't, then we'll carry on calculating the sum of its digits. Right, and inside here we need to get the sum of digits of this number and then assign it back to this number. And then let's check if the number is equal to 1, then we just return true. Otherwise, we carry on repeating this whole loop until we come to a point that we have a number that's been used before. And at that point, it will break out of the loop and we can just return false. We do need to make sure that we are inserting this number into this set of previous numbers. And we return false once we break out of this loop. There we go. I think this solution would work. Submit. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions about it, feel free to ask me in the comments below or on Twitter. And if there's any other Leetcode problem that you would like me to solve and explain, let me know, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.